Hi, everybody. All right, today is Friday, and today we did a rock painting activity, and I found this book I wanted to share, and then I completely forgot about it. So hopefully you can watch it on here. It's called Only One You. All right, so here's the little rock fish family. And it says, "It's time," Papa said. "I think it is." Mama agreed. "Time for what?" Andre asked. Papa's voice softened. "To share some wisdom. Always be on the lookout for a new friend. Look for beauty wherever you are and keep the memory of it with you. Blend in when you need to. Stand out when you have the chance. Find your own way. You don't have to follow the crowd. Know when to speak and know when to listen." No matter how you look at it, there is so much to discover. If you make a wrong turn, circle back. If something gets in your way, move around it. Set aside some quiet time to relax and reflect each day. Appreciate art. It's all around you. Make wishes on the stars in the nighttime sky. "Thank you for listening," Mama said. "We hope you will remember." Papa winked and whispered, "We know this is a lot for you to think about." Andrew did a backward somersault and smiled. He was excited to go out into the world with what he had just learned. "Wait for me," he shouted to his friends. Before he swam away, he turned back to his parents and said, "I will remember." Mama kissed Andrew on the head, on the top of his head. "There's only one you in this great big world," she said. "Make it a better place." All right, so I hope you guys had fun painting your rocks for our Fun Friday activity today. All right, so let me get to what we went over. So if you go to the agenda, all right, so in math today we were practicing and reviewing measuring and drawing angles. So we reviewed some things that we've been doing throughout the week. And then your independent work, you had to finish up the problems in Seesaw, make sure all that was done, and then you have a quizzes, and the quizzes is on Google Classroom. Right here, Friday quizzes measuring angles. And then we also turned in this Monday assignment. I kept trying to see if we'd have time throughout the week, and we never did. So don't worry about the second page. If you want to do it for extra practice, you can. If not, that's fine. So turn this in as well. And then for the lesson in Seesaw, if you go to activities and go down to math, all right, so Friday's review. All right, so here, let me clear this mess out of here. All right, so here it says, what is the measure of EAD to the nearest degree? So you've got E right here, all the way to A, and then back up to D. All right, so we're looking for this small little measurement right here. So I know a couple things. First off, I know this is an acute angle because of how small it is. So anything that's not acute, I'm going to go ahead and take it out of the way, start knocking some of these out. Next, I noticed that, see how BA right here is lined up on 0, this ray? Well, this one is not. It's kind of floating there in the middle of my protractor. So I'm going to have to approach it a little bit differently. So I'm going to zoom in here and I'm going to see where this is at. And it looks like this one, if I look at the outer scale, it's a little bit after 150, like maybe 151. And then the other one, if I look at where it stops here, it looks like 131. And so the first way I could do it is finding the difference. So I could subtract these and get 20. And 20 would be my measurement of how much that is. Another thing I could do is count. So I could say each one of these lines count by 1, or count by 5s, or count by 10s, however it's easier to count. Since this one's on 151, I'm just going to count by 1s, and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, and go all the way down, and I'd stop right here at D, and I would notice that that was also 20. And so you're measuring the distance in between here. So 20 degrees was our answer. And then we talked about some of these other choices. So someone might look at this quickly and say 30, or they might say 50, or the 130 is right here. So all of these numbers are close, but they're not correct because, again, we're measuring what that amount is in between. So 20 is the one that matches that. All right, next, it says here, Doreen drew an acute angle. So right away, I see that there are some that are not acute. So I'm going to go ahead and take those out. So 169, oops, oh goodness, come back. All right, 169 is not, 104 is not, and 90. So these are both obtuse angles. 90 is a right angle. So when it says she drew an acute angle, which one could it be? 77 is the only acute number. Remember, acute, the range is greater than 0. And let me make this darker. Greater than 0 and less than 90. So that means 1 to 89. So anything in that little range right there, those are your acute angles. Oh my gosh. Stop it. I'm getting too close to the side there, I guess. All right, on this next one, it says which angle does not have a measure less than 90. So you're just looking at these angle names and you're going and finding them. So EFA right here, this one measures 25. So that is, that's less than 90. Next one, you've got CFB. So CFB, that one's 55. That's less than 90. We can take that out. Next, you got AFD. So AFD. Right away, I noticed that this is an obtuse angle, which means that's definitely over 90. And my next one, CFD, CFD is 35, so that's also not. So AFD, if I were to add 40 and 55 and 35, those would be greater than 90, and that would mean it's obtuse, which means it does not have a measurement less than 90. All right, so go ahead and go through this last part right here and do some practice independently and see if you can find the answers for those, just different things that we practiced throughout the week. And then make sure you finish your quizzes. And that was what we did for math. Then we did some practice on the whiteboard.chat, going over and doing some benchmark review from previous things that we've gone over throughout the year. And then in reading, you go to your Seesaw activities and go down to reading. All right, on the very last page, we did a check with poetry. So we've been practicing poetry all week. So it's called What's So Great About the Lone Star State. So we read through this poem and then you have questions 1 through 8. So students got the choice whether to work with that, work on it with a partner, or they could work or they could choose to do independent work. So they solved that. And then we finished up our epic book. So we traveled throughout the different regions. So we went to the northwest, the south, let me start over. Northeast, southeast, southwest. Then we went to the west and the Midwest. So we traveled across to different regions across America and read different books from those areas. So today was the Midwest. So all of those books are linked in the Seesaw. If you go to page 2 and click on this link here, you can find those. So make sure you read through those this week and got caught up with all the epic that were assigned. And that was the independent work. Monday through Friday. So that was part of it. So make sure you went through and got caught all up on that. And then we read our story, Wild Robot. And then for writing, we finished up our writing assignment, and that needs to be turned in. So week 26 writing. We have been working on some editing and revising passages. So if you go to page 5, the last one here is called a big splash. So with this one, we modeled how to do number 1, and this is one that needs, this is revision. So this one, when you have an editing passage, I said you don't have to, you don't have to read the passage because with editing, you're just fixing spelling and, capitalization type stuff. And you don't need to read the story to understand if a word's spelled wrong or not. So with revising, though, you do need to, because if you're adding things in or you're taking things out or you're combining or you're trying to, like this one, you're improving the meaning or you're improving the flow of the paper, you need to understand what the paper is about, because otherwise how can you change it? So make sure that once you find your answer, plug it in and make sure that it flows and connects with the main idea of the story and all that. Then we had some time to wrap up our paper at the end. So we've been working on this prompt about what we're looking forward to doing. And then we needed to add a page. So add a page and make page 10 and put it all together like a paper, with paragraphs would look. And then turn that in when you're done. Then we went, and science and social studies were kind of squashed together because we did our kindness painting rocks today. So in science, we finished up the activities in the Sink and Float lab. We just had this last page here. We had some more cylinders that we were looking at how we measure those. So again, make sure you're looking at this bottom part here, the meniscus, not the raised part. You need this bottom number. Or this bottom part where it touches. And then we talked about, again, how we know what we're measuring by. Each one of these lines represents something different. So if you notice, this one's a little bit wider. So these numbers, when I'm going up, notice this is 5, but how the one next to it is 1 and this one is 10. So different sizes can make your amounts be in different spots. So make sure you find out the rule for how those are jumping and moving along before you go and answer. So once you finish that, you can turn in that. And then for social studies, we worked on our social studies assignment, week 26. You can go to your agenda, and there's a couple videos on here about the invention of barbed wire and how that really transformed life back in the 1800s. And so it was invented by someone, and so our article today in the video that we watched, we're talking about how, he came up with this invention and the importance of it and why it's needed. And then you have a couple questions in your Google Classroom. And once you have that done, turn that in. I still have that's 11. That's quite a bit of people who have not turned in their social studies. So make sure you get that in today. Everything's due today. So this is about to be cleared out. So go through as soon as I finish the grades. And again, everything was due today. So as soon as I finish, you're going to see this whole thing wiped out. So if you have anything that's got a green clipboard, make sure you quickly, like within the next, like it needs to be now, make sure you go through and you really, double check, is everything grayed out? Is there something still green? Then go up to the top, click view your work, make sure you're happy with all the grades, make sure there's no corrections that need to be made, and get that in ASAP. All right, let me see, let me make sure I got everything. All right, so again, I hope you had fun with your rocks. I'll let you guys know when we're going to plan on having you guys bring those back so you can add them to our garden. And I think that wraps up the week. So again, thank you guys for watching, and have a great spring break, hopefully a nice relaxing time with your family, and I will see you guys next week on the 15th. All right, bye guys.